The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Picture this. It's a quiet Sunday morning on a New York subway. The car is peaceful, almost serene. People are lost in their newspapers, some catching a few moments of rest with their eyes closed. It's one of those rare moments of urban tranquility. Then, chaos erupts. A man boards the train with his children, and instantly, the calm is shattered. The kids are completely out of control, yelling, throwing things, even snatching newspapers right out of passengers' hands. It's absolute mayhem. And their father? He just sits down, closes his eyes, and seems utterly oblivious to the pandemonium unfolding around him. You can feel the tension building. Passengers are shooting looks, silently judging this man's complete lack of awareness. Finally, one passenger, exercising what he considers remarkable patience, leans over and says, "Sir, your children are really disturbing everyone. Could you please control them a little better?" The man slowly opens his eyes, as if surfacing from somewhere far away, and says quietly, "Oh, you're right. I should do something. We just came from the hospital where their mother died about an hour ago. I don't know what to think, and I guess they don't know how to handle it either." Suddenly, in a heartbeat, everything shifts. Can you feel it? The irritation melts away. The judgment dissolves. In its place flows a wave of pure compassion. You don't have to force yourself to be understanding anymore. Your heart naturally fills with this man's pain. The situation, the man, his children, you see all of it through completely different eyes. What you just experienced is what Covey calls a paradigm shift. It's a fundamental change in the very lens through which you view the world. And here's the thing. Understanding and directing these shifts might be the most powerful tool you have for transforming your life. When the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People hit the shelves, it didn't just become a bestseller, it became a cultural phenomenon. We're talking over 10 million copies sold, translated into dozens of languages, becoming a trusted guide for everyone, from presidents and chief executives to parents and students across the globe. Covey wasn't just some writer sitting in an ivory tower. He was a teacher who'd spent over 25 years in the trenches, working with thousands of people from every walk of life imaginable. He'd seen people who had climbed to incredible heights of success, but were secretly struggling with this gnawing inner hunger, a desperate need for meaning, for genuine relationships, for a life that actually felt whole. And what did he discover? That the secret to a truly effective life isn't hiding in some quick-fix technique or personality hack. It's found in changing yourself from the inside out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk you through the timeless principles from this incredible book. My promise? Stick with me, and you'll walk away with a completely new map for your life. Not a map that just shows you how to cram more into your day, but one that shows you how to become more. You'll understand the fundamental difference between people who are just busy spinning their wheels and people who are genuinely effective. And you might just discover the key to unlocking your own highest potential. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to glide through life, building success and happiness with apparent ease, while others work just as hard but end up stuck, frustrated, or unfulfilled? Stephen Covey wrestled with this exact question for years. He dove deep into over 200 years of success literature, devouring hundreds of books, articles, and essays. And as he did, he noticed something startling. For the first 150 years or so, success literature focused on what he called the character ethic. It was all about the foundational stuff: integrity, humility, courage, justice, patience, treating others the way you want to be treated. The idea was beautifully simple. True success and lasting happiness could only come from weaving these principles into the very fabric of who you are. Benjamin Franklin's autobiography is a perfect example. It's basically the story of one guy's dedicated effort to build his character, one principle at a time. But then, shortly after World War I, Covey noticed a dramatic shift. The focus moved away from character and toward what he called the personality ethic. Suddenly, success wasn't about who you were, but about how you appeared. It became all about personality, public image, attitudes, and techniques. It was about learning tricks to influence people, slapping on a positive attitude, and using communication gimmicks to get others to like you. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing inherently bad about self-improvement, communication skills, or positive thinking. They're valuable. But, Covey argues, they're secondary. They're the leaves of the tree, not the roots. The personality ethic is full of quick fixes and band-aid solutions. It might solve a problem temporarily, but the underlying issues just keep festering and coming back to haunt you. Think of it like farming. You can't cram on a farm, right? You can't skip planting in spring, goof off all summer, and then pull an all-nighter in fall hoping to bring in a harvest. It's a natural system. You always reap what you sow. There are no shortcuts. Human relationships and personal growth work the same way. They're governed by this same law of the harvest. This fundamental insight is the beating heart of the book. Effective living must be grounded in principles. Principles are like lighthouses. They're natural laws that can't be broken. You can try navigating by your own made-up map, but if that map doesn't align with the lighthouse of true north, you'll eventually find yourself lost at sea. Covey calls this the inside-out approach. Change starts with you. It begins with your character, your motives, and your paradigms. Those maps you use to navigate the world. Want a happy marriage? Become the kind of person who generates positive energy. Want to be trusted? Become trustworthy. Private victories, Covey insists, always come before public victories. You have to make and keep promises to yourself before you can make and keep them to others. This is the journey the 7 habits will take us on, from dependence to independence, and finally, to interdependence. The private victory, from dependence to independence. We all start life as completely helpless infants, totally dependent on others for survival. As we grow, we push toward independence, the ability to take care of ourselves, to be self-reliant. This is what the first 3 habits are all about, what Covey calls the private victory. This is where you master yourself. Habit 1. Be proactive. To really understand this first habit, you need to hear Viktor Frankl's story. Frankl was a psychiatrist, a Jew, and a prisoner in the Nazi death camps. He endured horrors that are almost impossible to comprehend. His parents, his brother, his wife, all died in the camps. He himself was tortured and lived under the constant shadow of the gas chambers. One day, naked and alone in a tiny room, he became aware of what he later called the last of the human freedoms. His captors could control his environment. They could do whatever they wanted to his body, but they couldn't control his mind. They couldn't take away his freedom to choose how he responded. Between what happened to him, the stimulus, and his response to it, there was a space. And in that space lay his power to choose. In the midst of unimaginable suffering, Frankl would use his imagination to mentally transport himself into the future, picturing himself giving lectures to students after his release, teaching them the very lessons he was learning in that moment. He exercised this small inner freedom until it grew larger than the freedom his Nazi captors had. He became an inspiration to others, even some of the guards, helping them find meaning in their suffering. This is what being proactive is all about. It means recognizing that we're responsible for our own lives. The word responsibility, Covey points out, breaks down to responsibility, the ability to choose your response. Highly proactive people don't blame their circumstances, their upbringing, or their conditions for their behavior. Their behavior flows from their own conscious choices, based on values. Reactive people, on the other hand, are like weather vanes. They're driven by feelings, by circumstances, by the social weather. If people treat them well, they feel good. If not, they become defensive. They build their emotional lives around other people's behavior, essentially giving the weaknesses of others control over them. Proactive people carry their own weather with them. As Eleanor Roosevelt put it, no one can hurt you without your consent. Here's a powerful way to think about this. Imagine two circles. The big circle contains everything you care about: your health, your family, work problems, the national debt, climate change. This is your circle of concern. Now draw a smaller circle inside it. This one contains the things you can actually do something about. This is your circle of influence. Proactive people focus their energy on their circle of influence. They work on things they can change. And here's the beautiful part. As they do this, their positive energy grows, and their circle of influence actually expands. Reactive people focus on their circle of concern. They worry about other people's weaknesses, problems in the environment, circumstances they can't control. This focus leads to blaming, accusing, and feeling like a victim. And while they're doing this, they neglect the areas they could actually impact, so their circle of influence shrinks. Anytime we think the problem is out there, that thought itself is the problem. We're giving what's out there the power to control us. The proactive approach is to work from the inside out, to work on our being. I can be more patient, be wiser, be more loving. At the very heart of our circle of influence is our ability to make and keep commitments, both to ourselves and to others. Every time we make a promise and keep it, we build our character and expand our ability to choose. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. I want you to try something with me. Take a moment and use your imagination. See yourself going to a funeral. You walk inside, notice the flowers, hear the soft music playing. You see the faces of friends and family. You feel the shared sorrow of losing someone, but also the joy of having known them. As you walk to the front of the room and look inside the casket, you suddenly come face to face with yourself. This is your funeral, 3 years from today. There are 4 speakers. One is from your family, one is your best friend, one is from work, and one is from a community organization you were involved with. Now think deeply. What would you like each of them to say about you? What kind of spouse or parent would you want their words to reflect? What kind of friend? What character traits would you want them to have seen in you? What contributions, what achievements would you want them to remember? This exercise, as jarring as it might be, is the fastest way to touch your deepest, most fundamental values. It's the most fundamental application of begin with the end in mind. It means starting each day, each task, with a clear vision of your destination, so that every step you take is in the right direction. It's incredibly easy to get caught up in what Covey calls the activity trap, climbing the ladder of success only to discover it's leaning against the wrong wall. We can be crazy busy without being even remotely effective. This habit is about making sure your ladder is on the right wall. Covey says all things are created twice. There's a mental, or first creation, and a physical, or second creation. Think about building a house. You create it in meticulous detail on a blueprint before you ever pound the first nail. You have to make sure that blueprint, that first creation, is really what you want. In our lives, if we don't take charge of our own first creation, we let other people and circumstances shape our lives by default. We end up reactively living out the scripts handed to us by our families, our friends, our culture. Habit 1 says, you are the creator. Habit 2 says, write the program. The most effective way to write the program is to develop a personal mission statement. This is your personal constitution. It focuses on what you want to be, your character, and what you want to do, your contributions, and on the values or principles that will guide you. It becomes the standard by which you measure everything else in your life. It gives you a changeless core, so you can navigate a world of constant change. To write this statement, you have to start at the very center of your life. Whatever is at your center becomes the source of your security, guidance, wisdom, and power. Covey identifies several common centers people have: spouse-centered, family-centered, money-centered, work-centered, possession-centered, or even enemy-centered. The problem with these centers, they're all unstable. If your security comes from your job, you'll be devastated if you lose it. If it comes from your spouse, you'll be vulnerable to their moods and weaknesses. The most effective center, Covey argues, is being principle-centered. Principles, unlike things or people, don't change. They don't react to anything. They can't be destroyed. By centering your life on timeless, unchanging principles, you create a solid foundation for a highly proactive and effective life. Habit 3. Put first things first. If Habit 1 says you are the programmer and Habit 2 says write the program, then Habit 3 says run the program. This is the second creation, the physical creation. It's where the rubber meets the road. It's the habit of personal management. Leadership, Covey says, is about deciding what the first things are. Management is about putting them first, day by day, moment by moment. Management is the discipline of carrying it out. And the key to this is captured in a brilliantly simple idea: the time management matrix. Imagine a square divided into 4 quadrants. The 2 factors that define any activity are urgency and importance. Urgent matters demand immediate attention. They press on us. A ringing phone is urgent. Important matters, on the other hand, contribute to your mission, your values, your high-priority goals. Quadrant 1 is urgent and important. These are crises, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects. We all have Quadrant 1 activities, but some people are completely consumed by them. They're crisis managers, constantly putting out fires. Quadrant 3 is urgent but not important. This is the quadrant of deception. It's filled with some phone calls, some emails, some meetings. The urgency is often based on other people's priorities and expectations, not yours. Quadrant 4 is not urgent and not important. This is the quadrant of waste, trivia, busy work, time wasters. Quadrant 2 is not urgent but important. This is the heart of effective personal management. It deals with things like building relationships, writing a personal mission statement, long-range planning, exercise, and preventative maintenance. These are things we know we need to do but rarely get around to because they aren't urgent. Effective people aren't problem-minded. They're opportunity-minded. They feed opportunities and starve problems. They spend more time in Quadrant 2, and by doing that, they actually shrink Quadrant 1. They think preventatively, working on the roots of problems before they become crises. Think back to those questions from the beginning. What one thing could you do in your personal and professional life that would make a tremendous positive difference? I'm guessing those things are Quadrant 2 activities. They're deeply important, but because they aren't urgent, you don't do them. So, where do you find time for Quadrant 2? You have to steal it from quadrants 3 and 4. You have to learn to say no to activities that aren't important, even when they seem urgent. The only way to do that is by having a bigger yes, burning inside your yes to your purpose, your mission, your most important goals. The key isn't to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Covey suggests organizing your life on a weekly basis, not a daily one. This gives you greater balance and context. Each week, identify your key roles: husband, father, manager, friend. Select 2 or 3 important goals for each role, and then schedule the time to achieve them. This Quadrant 2 organizing gives you the freedom and flexibility to handle unexpected events without losing sight of what matters most. The public victory, from independence to interdependence. Once you've achieved the private victory, once you're proactive, have a clear end in mind, and can organize your life around your priorities, you're truly independent. But independence isn't the ultimate goal. The highest reaches of our nature have to do with our relationships with others. Life is, by its very nature, highly interdependent. This is the realm of the public victory, the focus of the next 3 habits. And the foundation for all of them is a powerful metaphor: the emotional bank account. Every relationship is like a bank account. You can make deposits through courtesy, kindness, honesty, and keeping commitments. When you have a high balance, trust is high. Communication is easy, instant, and effective. You can even make mistakes, and the high emotional reserve will compensate for it. But if you habitually show disrespect, ignore people, betray trust, or overreact, you make withdrawals. Eventually your account becomes overdrawn. Trust plummets. Then you're walking on eggshells. You have to measure every word. It's tension city. Our most constant relationships require our most constant deposits. With that in mind, let's explore the habits of public victory. Habit 4. Think win-win. Covey tells a story about a company president who was worried about the lack of cooperation among his people. "They're just selfish," he complained. "Can you help us develop a human relations program to fix this?" Covey looked around and found a culture of low trust and defensive communication, but he dug deeper. In the president's office, behind a curtain, was a chart of racehorses. On each horse's face was the photo of one of his managers. At the end of the track was a poster of Bermuda. Once a week, the president would gather his managers, talk about the importance of cooperation, and then dramatically pull back the curtain and ask, "Now, which of you is going to win the trip to Bermuda?" The problem wasn't the people, it was the system. He was trying to harvest cooperation from seeds of competition. Win-win isn't a technique. It's a total philosophy of human interaction. It's one of 6 paradigms. 1. Win-win, a mindset that constantly seeks mutual benefit. It's not your way or my way, it's a better way, a higher way. 2. Win-lose, the authoritarian approach. If I win, you lose. Most of us have been deeply programmed with this mentality from birth, through family comparisons, peer groups, and even school grading curves that say you got an A because someone else got a C. 3. Lose-win, even worse than win-lose. It's capitulation, being a nice guy even if nice guys finish last. People with this mindset seek strength from popularity and lack the courage to express their own feelings. 4. Lose-lose. When 2 win-lose people collide, both lose. It's the philosophy of war, of revenge. 5. Win. People with a win mentality just want to get what they want and leave it to others to get what they want. 6. Win-win or no deal. The highest expression of win-win. If we can't find a solution that benefits us both, we agree to disagree agreeably. No deal. This frees you from needing to manipulate or push your own agenda. Most of life is interdependent reality. In the long run, if it isn't a win for both of us, we both lose. That's why win-win is the only real alternative in interdependent realities. This philosophy is built on 3 essential character traits. Integrity, being true to your values. You can't go for a win if you don't know what a win truly is for you. Maturity, the balance between courage and consideration. The ability to express your feelings and convictions with courage while also being considerate of others' feelings and convictions. Abundance mentality, the paradigm that there's plenty out there for everybody. The opposite is the scarcity mentality, which sees life as a zero-sum game, where one person's success means another's failure. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Suppose you go to an eye doctor. After you briefly explain your vision problem, he takes off his glasses, hands them to you, and says, "Here, wear these. I've had this pair for 10 years, and they've really helped me." You put them on, but everything gets worse. "I can't see a thing," you exclaim. "Well, what's wrong with you?" he asks. "They work great for me. Try harder." How much confidence would you have in someone who prescribes before they diagnose? Yet how often do we do exactly this in communication? We rush in to fix things with good advice, but we fail to deeply understand the problem first. This principle is the key to effective communication. Most people don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. They're either speaking or preparing to speak. They're filtering everything through their own paradigms, projecting their own home movies onto other people's lives. Covey describes 5 levels of listening: ignoring, pretending, selective listening, and attentive listening. But the highest form, the one that unlocks real connection, is empathic listening. This is listening with the intent to understand. It's getting inside another person's frame of reference. You see the world the way they see it. You understand how they feel. Empathic listening isn't just hearing words. Communication experts estimate that only 10% of our communication is the words we say. 30% is our sounds, and 60% is our body language. You have to listen with your eyes and your heart. This is so powerful because it gives you accurate data to work with, and it gives the other person, quote, psychological air. Next to physical survival, the greatest human need is psychological survival, to be understood, affirmed, and validated. When you give someone that air, you make a massive deposit in their emotional bank account, and then you can focus on problem solving together. Once you've deeply understood the other person, then you can work on being understood. This takes courage. This is where Covey introduces the ancient Greek philosophy of ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is your personal credibility, the trust people have in your integrity. Pathos is the empathic side, the feeling. It shows you understand the emotional reality of the other person's communication. Logos is the logic, the reasoning part of your presentation. Notice the sequence: character, relationship, then logic. Most people jump straight to logos. They try to convince with logic before they've established trust or understood the other person's perspective. When you can present your ideas in the context of a deep understanding of their paradigms and concerns, you dramatically increase the credibility of your ideas. Habit 6. Synergize. Synergy is the highest activity in life, the true test of all the other habits working together. Simply put, it means the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. 1 + 1 = 3, or 8, or 16, or more. The essence of synergy is valuing differences, respecting them, building on strengths, compensating for weaknesses. Sameness isn't oneness. Uniformity isn't unity. Unity is complementariness. When you communicate synergistically, you're opening your mind and heart to new possibilities, new alternatives. You don't know exactly where it will lead, but you have a sense of adventure, believing the outcome will be significantly better than what anyone could have come up with alone. Imagine a husband who wants to go fishing for vacation and a wife who wants to visit her ailing mother. A typical interaction might devolve into a win-lose battle or a lose-lose compromise where neither is happy. But if they have a high emotional bank account, if they think win-win, and if they seek first to understand, they approach the problem differently. They're on the same side, looking at the problem together, understanding all the needs. Maybe we could find a place to camp and fish that's close to your mother, he might suggest. Maybe I could take a few days off later in the month to take care of the kids, and you could go visit her by yourself, she might offer. They communicate back and forth until they come up with a third alternative that's better than either of their original plans. They both get what they really want, and they build their relationship in the process. Instead of a transaction, it's a transformation. This requires tremendous internal security. Insecure people want to clone others. They want everyone to be amenable to their paradigms. But a truly effective person has the humility to recognize their own perceptual limitations and to appreciate the rich resources available through interacting with the hearts and minds of other human beings. When someone disagrees with you, you can say, "Good, you see it differently. Help me see what you see." Renewal, the habit that makes it all possible. The final habit ties all the others together. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Imagine you come across someone in the woods frantically trying to saw down a tree. You look exhausted, you say. "How long have you been at it?" "Over 5 hours, he gasps, "and I'm beat. This is hard work." "Well, why don't you take a break and sharpen your saw?" you ask. "I'm sure it would go a lot faster." "I don't have time to sharpen the saw," the man says. "I'm too busy sawing." Habit 7 is taking time to sharpen the saw. It's the habit of renewal. It's preserving and enhancing the greatest asset you have, you. Covey says we must renew ourselves in 4 dimensions. 1. The physical dimension, caring for your body through proper nutrition, rest, and regular exercise. Exercise is a classic Quadrant 2 activity. We think we don't have time for it, but the truth is we don't have time not to do it. 2. The spiritual dimension. This is the core of your life, your commitment to your value system. It provides leadership to your life. For some, it's daily prayer or meditation. For others, it's immersing themselves in great literature, music, or nature. It's taking time to connect with what matters most. 3. The mental dimension. This is about continually honing and expanding your mind. It comes from education, reading broadly, writing, and planning. Don't let your mind atrophy after you leave school. As the saying goes, the person who doesn't read is no better off than the person who can't read. 4. The social, emotional dimension. This dimension is renewed in our daily interactions with others by practicing the habits of public victory, thinking win-win, seeking to understand, and synergizing. It's about making deposits in the emotional bank accounts of the people most important to you. This process of renewal creates an upward spiral of growth. As you learn, commit, and act on increasingly higher planes, you continue to grow and develop. Each of the habits lives in Quadrant 2. They're all important, but not urgent. And it's by investing in them, by constantly sharpening the saw, that we create a life not just of effectiveness, but of peace, contribution, and deep fulfillment. As we come to the end of our journey through the 7 habits of highly effective people, it's worth pausing to reflect on why this book has had such a profound and lasting impact. In a world constantly screaming for our attention, promising quick fixes and instant gratification, Stephen Covey's message is a quiet, powerful call to return to something deeper. The single most powerful lesson for me is this idea of inside out. We live in a culture obsessed with the outside-in approach. We think that if we just had a better job, a more understanding spouse, or more obedient kids, then we'd be happy. We spend so much energy trying to change our circumstances, trying to shape up everyone else around us. Covey gently but firmly turns this idea on its head. He shows us that the most leveraged place for change isn't out there, but in here. It's in our own character, our own paradigms, our own choices. True change isn't about manipulating the world around you. It's about mastering the world within you. That's a revolutionary idea, and it's as true today as it was when the book was first written. The beauty of the 7 habits is how they build on each other, creating a complete framework for a well-lived life. The private victory of self-mastery gives you the security and strength to pursue the public victory of rich, collaborative relationships. And the habit of renewal ensures you never stop growing, that you're always capable of meeting life's next challenge. So how can you start applying these ideas right now in your own life? You don't have to do everything at once. Small steps, taken consistently, make all the difference. Here are a few simple things you can try. First, for the next 24 hours, just listen. The next time you're talking to someone, a friend, a parent, a coworker, resist the urge to advise, evaluate, probe, or interpret. Just listen, with the sole intent to understand. Try to see the world through their eyes. Even for a moment, you'll be amazed at what you learn and how it changes the dynamic of the conversation. Second, identify just one quadrant 2 activity you've been neglecting. Maybe it's 15 minutes of exercise. Maybe it's calling a grandparent you haven't spoken to in a while. Maybe it's spending 10 minutes writing down your thoughts in a journal. Whatever it is, schedule it into your week, and treat that appointment with yourself as seriously as you would an appointment with anyone else. And finally, the next time you feel angry or frustrated by a situation, pause. Remember Viktor Frankl and the space between stimulus and response. In that small gap lies your freedom. Take a breath and choose a response that aligns with your deepest values, not just your fleeting emotion. The journey Covey lays out isn't easy. It's a path of discipline, integrity, and courage. But it's also a path of deep joy, meaning, and fulfillment. It's about becoming a transition person, someone who stops passing on negative scripts and starts creating a legacy of positive change for generations to come. That was a summary of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. We've touched on the major principles today, but I'll be honest with you. A summary can only ever be a map. The real magic happens when you explore the territory for yourself. It's in those quiet moments when a particular story or a simple phrase from the book hits you in a way you didn't expect. This podcast is here to help you decide if a book is worth your time. If anything we've talked about has resonated with you, I truly believe this is one of those books. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself, your relationships, and your life. Also, if you found this summary valuable, I'd be so grateful if you would hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.